thank you to this great ministerial staff who jumps in and does exactly what is asked of them to do. And I say that with all humility, that they are the greatest staff around. Then to my sister in ministry, Sister Barnes, who does not mind calling and texting and emailing me to adjust and change worship. Thank you. Bless you. And we are always willing to make adjustments when the time calls for it. Amen. I wonder if you might turn again with me to the Word of God as we pull together a word. I, like all the rest of you, struggled all week trying to find my voice in the midst of all of these tragedies. We were upset at those killed by police, and then we were upset by the police killed by the one. And it brought back all of the other names. And someone said, I'm tired. Some things gotta give.
Yes, Lord.
What you don't know is we've been tired for a long time. I said this to my son the other day. Tired didn't just start with your generation. Tired been going on a long time. Look with me at Genesis chapter 4, which says, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstling of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. And Cain talked with his brother Abel. And it came to pass that when they were out in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel, your brother? And he said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Isaiah chapter 9 adds another piece to the midst of this puzzle. For Isaiah chapter 9 and verse number 6 says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. I'm not trying to preach this morning, but I just want to talk for a few moments on the subject, no justice, no peace. All week I've been watching the news. It's terrifying. All week long I've been watching over and over again, story after story. All week long I've been hearing of one tragedy after another. Got angry when they switched so quickly and lost sight of the names of the two young men who were gunned down and moved only over to the police officers who were killed, as if that story is off the page now, and now we've got a new story to talk about. But let me give you this one for free, church. We can talk about all of the stories at the same time.
Yes, sir.
Well, all of the stories come down to one issue: no justice, no peace. Now, I understand this issue because there's a very well-known principle in Western media circles, and that principle is that sex and violence sells. America's bloodlust is reflected in the surge in ratings and the millions upon millions of dollars made by media outlets that feed images of human suffering to eager viewers, readers, and listeners. They put it out there because we want to hear it, and we want to hear it because we want to be in the know. But we don't recognize and realize is the effect it is having upon our minds. Case in point includes the amount of media coverage that's given to the shooters, to their weapons, and how they ended the lives of their victims. The news media likes to dig down into the very deep depth of details in order to tell us all about these individuals who created this cause or issue that we are dealing with now in our situation. These monsters are studied and talked about and made infamous. They've even become the subject of books and made-for-TV dramas and characterized even on the big movie screen. All of this amounts to media manipulation. The following statement, in fact, was made by Morgan Freeman, and I think it puts the cherry on top of what I'm trying to say. And when Morgan was talking about the manipulation of the media to its best context, he said, you want to know why we are having this continual problem, this escalation of violence? You want to know why it seems that America doesn't have an end to the list of individuals who are willing to step up and cut down a great number of people in order to get their names on the news? You want to know why? It's because of the way the media reports on it.
Come on, son.
You don't get any coverage until you do something stupid. Turn on the news and watch how we treated the theater shooter. Turn on the news and watch how the Oregon Mall shooter and others were treated like celebrities. Turn on the news and watch how the individuals from the Miami shooting or the Orlando shooting or the Detroit shooting or the Chicago shooting, wherever it was, watch how the media glorifies the shooter. But do you even know the name of the victims anymore? The victims somehow get lost after we promote and promote and promote the names of the shooters and the situations and what they've done and what that does. Then is it causes other disturbed individuals who otherwise would just kill themselves down in their own basements. Morgan Freeman said when they see it on the news and they see how others became popular, they then want to go out and do something worse so that they too can be memorialized the same way as others. Why go to a grade school? Why kill children? Why show up at a movie theater? Why shoot cops down from a garage? Why kill people in such heinous ways? It's because that way they'll be remembered. For it's better to be remembered as a horrible monster than to be remembered as a sad nobody.
Come on, son. Come on, son.
How is this happening to divide us? How is it that this always seems to push us over into one camp or another? Once again, the media, when it's one of us, finds a criminal photo, a mugshot, if you will. But when it's not one of us, they find a high school photo or a family picture. Depicting us at our worst, them at their best, and then sit back and watch the powder keg continue to build its manipulation of the mind, and it's that kind of thing that causes us to turn against one another within our culture, and it also forms an opinion in the minds and the mindset of the law enforcement officers who are showing up on police actions and vehicle stops with that mindset already cemented that it's us against. And whenever the them in the car is one of us, it heightens their anxiety. And they go from being first responders to scared responders, fearful responders, who are looking for a reason to put someone down. The media is an influencer of our culture. And we would be remiss if we didn't place some of the blame about the habits and stuff going on in our society squarely on their shoulders. Rather than discouraging such behavior, the media actually promotes it. In some ways, they glamorize it. But in a whole lot of ways, y'all, they are commercializing it. Sex and violence has done much for the media moguls in terms of clout and money. But at what cost to us as a society? The cost that we have paid as a media-obsessed culture when that media is founded on sex and violence is a decline in our collective morality.
Come on, son.
There's a rise also in violence, but also there's a fall of empathy. You see, when we consume media on a consistent basis, we take it into our consciousness. It becomes a part of our thinking, and our thinking goes on to affect our emotions, and those emotions then influence our behavior, which leads then to the next event on the news. Our youth have also grown up in a society that has glamorized violence and desensitized them to the loss of life. While at the same time, violence among youth in the United States has reached critical mass. More specifically, the African American community is disproportionately affected by violence and crime. The Center for Disease Control reported that homicide was the second leading cause of death for individuals between the ages of 10 and 24. According to the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, African American youth account for a significant number of youth in the United States arrested and prosecuted for violent offenses. We also top the scale of those arrested and prosecuted for nonviolent offenses. We further fill up jails. The new slavery in America. Violence has become a staple employed by our youth in resolving their conflicts. Because of the media, they say, because of the games and videos they watch and play, because of the music that they listen to. At what point did the influence of peers in media and pop culture overshadow the impact of mama, big mama, auntie, daddy, uncles? At what point did the culture that we are living in get to the point that its voice was louder and more controlling than family and commitment and the voice of the church in the lives of our young people? There are many questions that must be answered if we are ever going to be able to get to a moment of peace in the midst of our lives. Before we can have conversation about the issues that are prevalent, we've got to understand where the problem is coming from. For violence is the issue. But when did it start? Violence started shortly after the dawn of human history. Watch Watch this. The first child born to the human family was a murderer.
Come on now.
Genesis begins with creation and ends with a coffin.
Come on, sir. Come on, sir.
The wages of sin began immediately after the fall of man from the glory of God, and it didn't take long. In the chapter that we read, chapter 4 of Genesis, we have the first of many things that we can trace right on back to today. We have the first brothers, we have the first offerers, we have the first offering, we have the first parents, we have the first home, we have the first man, we have the first lady, we have the first youth worship, we have the first bit of blood crying from the ground, we have the first body recommitted to the dust, we have the first record of death, we have the first man to see death, we have the first weeping parents over death, we have the first fugitive from justice, and no doubt the first anguish among those who were left behind trying to grapple with what do we do now. No doubt also some thought this has to end before it gets too far, and no doubt at the same time there were those who were looking for somebody else to blame it all on. But can I tell you, the death of Cain had no externals to blame it on, and yet we still had death. There was no rappers.
Come on now. Come on, sir.
There were no violent videos. There was no glorifying the culture of violence. There were no gang violence on every corner. There were no cultural issues at the time. There were no race problems. There were no social problems. There were no deadbeat dads. There was no educational or economic issues. The only thing present was a sinful heart and a sinful mind that wanted what it wanted and did not care about the rest of the folk. We can find a whole lot of things to blame it on. But the reality is we got to start with us into Jesus, the Prince of Peace. We're living at a time, y'all, when the world longs for peace, but there's never a day when the news does not include exactly the opposite. Many are focused on the war against terrorism, some against the constant conflict in the Middle East, others against our own economy and job crisis. And here now lately it's been concentrated on and focused on one bit of violence after another that raises our consciousness that something needs to be done, something needs to change, and we need it right now. Recently, the President of the United States spoke to the country with tears in his eyes about the grieving communities, and he spoke in such a language as to let everybody know that something has to change. We've got to change the culture of our country. We've got to change the culture of our city. We've got to change mindsets and hearts. We've got to get people to stop lining up on one side or the other. We've got to stop judging people by the color of their skin. Not all black youth are thugs. Not all white people are racist. Not all police are bad. Not all people want to see death and destruction. Some folks want peace. The president talked about grieving communities, and he even had the audacity in the midst of his speech to bring in God. To mention, we need to get back to our faith. Well, and he closed, but let me tell you, Jesus is the only peace we're going to find. Jesus told us that I've told you these things so that in me Watch this, y'all. In me, you may have peace.
Yes, yes.
Because in this world, you will always have trouble. But take heart. Don't give up. Don't get frustrated. Take heart. Don't throw in the towel. Don't give up on our youth. Don't give up on one another. Don't give up on the races. Take heart. Don't give up on the police and first responders. Take heart, because I've already overcome the world. But the problem is, and the reason why peace is so elusive in this world in which we live, is because we're too busy trying to conquer one another in order to bring about peace.
Come on now. Come on now.
How dare you chant no justice, no peace, while you harbor hatred in the midst of your heart? How dare you chant no justice, no peace, when you wish more police officers would be shot down in the street? How dare you claim no justice, no peace, when you have lined up blue handkerchiefs against red handkerchiefs? How dare you speak about no justice, no peace, when we are gunning one another down in our own neighborhoods? How dare you talk about no justice, no peace, when you know the truth but won't tell the truth? How you gonna speak about no justice, no peace, when you don't love your neighbor as you love yourself? If we gonna change the world in which we are living, we've got to decide we gonna follow the word that was printed in the text that said, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, then I will hear from heaven. I'll turn things around. I'll bring about justice and I'll bring about peace. But it's not going to happen as long as we are divided. We'll never get to peace if all we do is figure out who to hate. We'll never get to peace if all we can do is talk about who we are mad at. We'll never get to peace if we're not willing, each and every one of us, to participate in bringing it to pass. No justice, no peace. No love in your heart, no peace. No repentance in your spirit, no peace. No decision to do better in your mind, no peace. Somebody's got to do something. That was the other thing I heard all week long. What are we going to do? The young generation is marching. The older ones, those over 55, are sitting at home watching the news saying they're going to get us in trouble. They're stirring up mess. Did y'all forget 1960? Did y'all forget the anger we had when girls were bombed at a church? Y'all forget the anger we had when police dogs were turned loose on protesters? Did you forget the anger we had when kids had fire hoses turned on them? Did you forget the number of individuals that were dragged out of jail by police officers, taken out in the woods and beaten to death and thrown in rivers? That was y'all's moment when you were marching. Now our young people are marching, and they need direction and covering and guidance, just like we did when we were marching. The same civil disobedience that worked in the 60s can work in the 21st century to bring about a change. Dr. King used his connection to Jesus to say to a generation who was angry, you want justice? You have to know the Prince of Peace. Let us stand. Seems so urgent now that some of us find our way to the Prince of Peace because the world is filled with so much chaos, so much anger, so much madness. We need a better way. Yes, protest, but don't lose your soul. Yes, get angry, but don't lose your relationship. Where is your brothers? Where are your family? Don't be caught answering, am I my brother's keeper? The door of the church is open. Are you here this morning?